Hey, on behalf of Michigan Builders, I'd like to thank you for taking our presentation. We're going to do a 1-hour segment dealing with the code updates. Now, there's no way we can do all the updates in 1 hour, but I just want to do a general overview. Keeping in mind also that we're doing the 2015 code. We did not ever do the 2012 code. So some of the 2015 code changes involve the 2012 as well as 2015. And I'm only going to cover highlights or parts of the code that I think are going to take a big issue with your upcoming construction years. This code went into effect February 8th, 2016. And the very first one I'm going to touch on is on the very first page, 102.4, Reference Codes and Standards. The codes and standards referenced in this code shall be considered part of the requirements of this code to be prescribed to the extent of each such reference and as further regulated in those sections. Exception, where enforcement of the code provision would violate the conditions of the listing of the equipment or the appliance, the conditions of the listing and manufacturer's instructions shall apply. The reason I want to point this one out to you is that in some situations, people often feel that the building inspector's word is the last word on the subject, whereas when it comes to the actual installation of products, it's the manufacturer's recommendations that are normally followed, even by the building department. This is going to be a big plus in the 2015 building code because you're going to see that you're going to have to provide documentation on various aspects of the construction trades and materials that we didn't have to apply before. And I'll point that out to you shortly. One of the things, too, that you're going to notice as we go through the code is in reference to the changes. When you see one line in the margin, that references that it's a change from the previous code, which is the 2012. Keeping in mind the 2009 isn't marked yet, okay? When we have two lines, that's specific to the code change for the reference of Michigan. And there will be other symbols and signs as well. When you see an asterisk, it means that that section's been depleted. It's not used any longer. But for our purpose, we're going to be studying a lot of the one-line and the two-line changes and those that were not included from the 2012 code. The next one we're going to talk about, page 2, manufacturer's installation instructions. Manufacturer's installation instructions as required by this code shall be available on the job site and at the time of the inspection. So now you're going to have to start keeping these manufacturer's installation instructions, whether it be siding, roofing, windows and doors, anything that has a manufacturer specs on how to install, you'll have to keep that on site. The next one we'll cover is on page 7 down at the bottom left. It says 302.51 opening protection. Openings from a private garage directly into a room used for sleeping purposes shall not be permitted. Other openings between the garage and residence shall be equipped with solid wood doors not less than 1 3/8 in thickness, solid or honeycomb up on the right, comb core steel door not less than 1 3/8 in thick, or 20-minute fire rated door. I want to draw your attention to the 20-minute door. When you purchase a 20-minute or a steel door from whoever you purchase it from, make sure that you get a listing that it is 20-minute door. It can withstand fire for at least 20 minutes. Failing to do so may knock down your inspection when they come to check out that separation door. Next page. This is one of the changes. Automatic garage door openers. Automatic garage door openers, if provided, shall be listed and labeled in accordance with UL 325. So in reference to 309.4, make sure that you keep that listing that's either on the box or on the operator's manual to prove to the building inspector on your inspection that you meet UL 325. Next page, on the right, 311.6.4, modular ramps. Modular ramp systems approved pursuant to this act are not required to comply with the requirements of section 403.1.4 of the code. What is 403.1.4? Well, that's dealing with the foundations that we normally have to do for permanent ramps. When we do modular pre-made ramps, we no longer have to do the concrete footings. We install that modular ramp according to the manufacturer's specifications. Next one down, go to page 311.8.1, maximum slope. Ramps serving the egress doors required in section 311.2 shall have a slope of not more than 1 unit vertical and 12 horizontal. All other ramps shall have a maximum slope of 1 and 8. Now, I'm touching on this one, even though there is a code change on this one. I want to draw your attention to the fact that this is a typical ramp used by anybody. If you are going to do an ADA or barrier-free design ramp, then you have to follow those specifications, which are much more stringent than this one. Okay, be cautious on that. If you're doing a ramp for a handicapped person, follow the barrier-free design rules or the ADA requirements. On the right-hand side, 312.2.1, window sills. In dwelling units where the top of the sill of an operable window opening is located less than 24 inches above the finished floor and greater than 72 inches above the finished grade or other surface below on the exterior of the building, the operable window shall comply with one of the following. We'll do number 1. Operable windows with openings that will not allow a 4-inch diameter sphere to pass through the opening where the opening is in its largest open position. This section was moved over to this particular location from the 2009 code, and some changes were made to it. Now, I want you to picture in your head that you have a second-story house, you have a large window, and the bottom of the window opening is within 24 inches of the floor, and the outside, the sill outside, is more than 6 feet above the grade. That window has to have a limiting opening device on it where a 4-inch sphere cannot pass through it. Once again, that's basically, if you think about it, that would be for child protection from a child falling out that window. On the next page, a new section dealing with elevators and platform lifts on the right, R321. Elevators, where provided passenger elevators, limited use, limited application elevators, or private resident elevators shall comply with the Michigan elevator rules. Platform lifts, where provided platform lifts shall comply with the Michigan elevator rules, that section. Now, this was a major change because it wasn't covered before, and what we're starting to see is the replacement of a lot of ramps with, for lack of a better word, wheelchair lifting devices, outdoor lifting devices, and a lot of times these can be bought secondhand on Craigslist or other various websites. People were installing these sometimes on their own or by getting a local contractor or electrician to install them, where now they have to comply with the elevator rules for the state of Michigan. Next page we'll go to is section 403.11, minimum size. The minimum width and thickness for concrete footing shall be in accordance with that table, through that table, and those figures. The footing width shall be based on the load-bearing value of the soil in accordance with table 401.4.1, and footing projection shall be not less than 2 inches and shall not exceed the thickness of the footing. Let's just go to that next section so we can see what they're talking about here. Our footing designs now have to include some allowances, and we need to know the snow load requirements for that zone. This is all new to the building code, 2015 code. So let's just pick one example. go on the left-hand side, we're going to do table 403.1 subparagraph 1. And on the far right it says minimum width and thickness for concrete footing for light frame construction. Light frame would be with no brick on it, just vinyl siding of some sort. If you kind enough go down to on the left side where it says a 30-pound snow load. And we'll do the one that says 2-story plus a basement. If you go to the right, we need to know what the ground bearing capacity of the soil is. So let's say from soil borings we know that the soil bearing is 1,500 PSF soil. Based on that requirement, on a 2-story plus a basement, our footing would be 23 inches by 6 inches thick. And just for comparison, if you look at the 20-pound snow load up above it and go to where it says 2-story plus a basement, it's 22 by 6. So we're an inch less on a 20-pound snow load. As the snow loads increase, the width of the footing is going to increase also.